Today I want to try something different. The thing is, normally when I take photos, I tend to take photos of people. So I like portraits, I like street photography when I take photos of people in the street as well. And most of my favorite photographers are also portrait photographers or street photographers that take photos of people as well. But lately I found myself appreciating more and more other genres of photography and other photographers that are totally different to what I'm used to. For example, the other day on Instagram, I found this photographer that I didn't know. The Instagram name is The Thin Black Frame, and the subject of some of these street photos are very common everyday things like steps, shopping carts, very things that most people might even call boring. But when he takes photos of it, they're not boring at all. So how come when I take photos of a shopping cart or a shopping trolley, it's boring, but when he does, it's not? This reminded me actually of other photographers such as George Byrne. I really like George Byrne. He takes photos of parking lots pretty much and buildings, but the composition and the framing and the colors that he uses, it makes it almost like an abstract photo, and it looks amazing. And the other photographer that I really like is William Eggleston, who's famous for taking photos of very everyday objects such as a glass or a light bulb even. So I'm very fascinated by how these guys can take very common objects and turn them into great images. So I decided for one day, why don't I go out in the streets and try to take those photos, to actually copy these guys and their style. Obviously, the idea here is not to just copy another photographer and that's it. The idea is to just do it for one day, to kind of see things from a different perspective, try to look for different things that you normally look for, and try to grow as a photographer. So by kind of drawing from different styles and different genres of photographers, then you can actually create your own voice. And that's the idea behind this challenge. But to be honest, I have no idea if this is going to work. I've never taken these kind of photos, and it could be a total disaster. So hopefully we can get some good shots. I'm going to go out and try to look for very boring and common objects in the street and try to make great photos out of it. Let's see what happens. Okay, we're in the streets now, and we came to this place in particular because first of all, it's not far from my house, so it's perfect. And secondly, there's not much happening here, not many people around, just a lot of back lanes, little lanes, and there are garages, houses, parking lots. So it's perfect for the kind of photography that we want to do today. So it's going to be a bit of a challenge for me, obviously, because it's not the style of photography I'm used to do, but that's exactly the point of this exercise, the idea behind this challenge. So let's go and find some good shots to take, and we'll see how we go. The good thing about today is that it's quite sunny, so that helps a lot with creating shadows and hard contrasts that we can use. So obviously we're looking for patterns, we're looking for hard lines that we can use in our composition, in our frames. So obviously having hard shadows on the ground or on the walls helps a lot. Not sure if there's someone in the house. So what I'm looking for here is really a composition. So if there are lines, like leading lines that I can use or create within my frame, or if there are contrast of colors, like for example there are two houses next to each other with like very different colors, then you can use the separation line to create a cool effect in your photo. So patterns, anything like that, that could create a cool composition. Sometimes it almost becomes an abstract photo because you can get so much close into the detail that you might not realize whether that's a garage door or that's a wall or something else. But it's more about the composition, and that's actually helping me. I'm realizing a lot with thinking more about, rule of thirds, leading lines, and all the composition rules in photography, like the one-on-one really of photography. So really good exercise. It looks quite cool in here, so I think we're gonna trespass, and if I can squeeze in here, I'm gonna try to go in, and hopefully no one will yell at us. I actually don't know how to come out of this. Okay, for example, here I just saw this garage door and this door from this entrance door from this building. They look quite interesting. There's the sun hitting them from the side, so creating some great lines, great shapes. Hopefully we can use the lights to create it from the shadows and the lines of the buildings, and maybe even the light pole in front of them, and to use in our shot. So let's see how we go. Okay, that was it. It was a lot of fun. I did struggle a little bit. It was more challenging than I thought it would be, but hopefully we got some good images. Again, the idea was not to copy another photographer, but it definitely is something that challenged me and hopefully made me a better photographer. I actually found it really challenging to think in a different way. It made me think about composition in a different way, my framing in a different way, even just the way I look around the street and what I try to find the subject to photograph. Everything was very different. I tried to look for patterns, for contrast, for harsh lights and shadows that hopefully create patterns on walls and on the ground that we can photograph, and small details as well. And I definitely recommend you doing it as well. You can do it with other genres of photography as well. If you've never taken portraits before, maybe try portraits. Or if you've never taken architecture photos, for example, try architecture photography for one day or even longer and see how it goes. See what inspires you and what you can incorporate in your own style of photography. Hope you like this video. If you like it, subscribe to this channel, like it, comment, and I will see you soon.